So this police officer from the United States ends up going crazy and eventually becomes a serial killer. The story is wild. Her name's Tina, and she's a cop in her 30s working for the police department in Chicago. Tina was known for her strict, no-nonsense attitude, a woman who always followed the rules. But there was something behind that cold stare of hers that no one could quite understand. She had a dark secret, one that no one could have imagined. Tina had a problem, a big problem, a gambling addiction. It started off small, just some late-night poker games with friends, a bit of blackjack here and there, but it spiraled out of control. She was already in debt when the loan sharks found her. They weren't the type to let you slip by unnoticed. They started showing up, lurking around the corners of her life, their threats clear and cold. Tina couldn't escape them. And one day, as the weight of her debt pressed harder and harder on her, Tina had an idea. A sick idea that would change everything. She decided to kill her cousin, someone no one would ever suspect. The insurance money. She would use it to pay off the sharks. It wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about gaining control over the chaos. It was about winning. It was 2012, and Tina's plan began to form. She took out a life insurance policy on her cousin, Jimmy, a quiet man who lived alone. The insurance company didn't ask too many questions. They were just happy to take her money and approve the policy. Tina had done her research, and in the world of insurance, she was an expert now. She invited Jimmy out to a remote field outside of town under the guise of spending some time together. They talked for a bit, nothing unusual. And then, just as the sun began to set, Tina grabbed a rock, heavy, jagged, the kind that could crack a skull with just the right force. Bam! The first hit took Jimmy by surprise, but the second, it was different. Tina was in a frenzy now, her hands shaking, her heart pounding. She didn't stop. She just kept swinging, again and again, until Jimmy lay still, the life drained from him. Later, Tina collected the insurance payout, a staggering $7,000. At first, no one suspected anything. It was a tragic accident, they said. Nothing more. But as the money hit her bank account, Tina felt something shift inside her. She felt powerful, in control, for the first time in years. The next few months were a blur. Tina paid off the loan sharks, but it was never enough. She needed more. So, 15 months later, she set her sights on a new target, her sister Kelly. Tina knew how to work the system. She pretended to be Kelly, contacted the insurance companies, and took out a life and funeral policy in Kelly's name. Once that was done, Tina invited her sister over for tea. They sat together in the kitchen, chatting like normal. But Tina's mind was already elsewhere. As Kelly stepped out to buy some bread, Tina spiked the tea with poison. When Kelly came back, she drank it without hesitation. The poison worked too slowly, so Tina took matters into her own hands. She strangled Kelly with her bare hands, feeling the life slip away from her sister. Afterward, Tina took the insurance payout, another $39,000. This time she thought maybe she should lay low for a while. But no, Tina couldn't stop. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about the thrill, the rush of being untouchable. It was a game, and Tina was playing to win. In 2015, Tina's next target was her boyfriend, Rob. She opened 16 life and funeral insurance policies in his name. She wanted to be covered from every angle, but this time, she didn't do it alone. Tina hired a hitman to take care of the dirty work. But when the hitman pulled the trigger, the gun jammed. Rob was lucky, or so he thought. Then one night, Tina took things into her own hands. She set his house on fire while he slept. Rob barely made it out alive, coughing and stumbling through the smoke. But it didn't matter. Tina was relentless. Rob broke up with her, terrified of the woman he had loved. But Tina wasn't done yet. Weeks later, Rob was walking down the street when someone confronted him with a knife. The attack was brutal. They stabbed him 76 times, and just like that, Rob was gone. Tina collected another payout, $7,000. But she didn't stop there. Oh no. The bloodlust had already taken over. In 2016, Tina murdered her own niece, Emma. She beat the poor girl to death and collected another insurance check. Her own daughter, a toddler, died under mysterious circumstances shortly after. Was Tina responsible? No one knew for sure, but the timing was suspicious. Then Tina went after her nephew, the son of her sister she had already murdered. She took out a policy on him, and before long, Jacob was hacked to death. Tina was playing a dangerous game, but she wasn't worried. By now, she had collected over $76,000 from the deaths of her family. She had the money, she had the power, and no one suspected a thing. But there was one thing Tina hadn't counted on: me. I was a police officer too, working in the same department. But I wasn't blind to the patterns. I started noticing the strange coincidences. Every time a family member of Tina's died, there was a large insurance payout. It didn't add up. I started digging, contacting the insurance companies, asking questions. The more I looked, the more I realized something was wrong. Something was very wrong. I kept quiet, waiting for the right moment. Tina had no idea that I was onto her. She didn't even know that I was closing in. One night, I decided to act. I followed her, watched her as she met with a hitman. They didn't know I was listening, but I heard enough. Enough to know that Tina was planning something big, something that could wipe out her whole family. I set up a sting operation. I got an undercover cop to pose as a second hitman. We recorded everything. The plan was out in the open now. I had the evidence. Tina's face went pale when she was arrested. She was caught, finally. But what was worse than the arrest was the realization that this woman, this cold, calculating killer, was someone I had once worked beside. There's so much more to this story, so much that you don't know yet. Because after the arrest, people started digging into Tina's past. They started asking questions about the people who had died around her. Her ex-husband, her baby son. The mysterious deaths started piling up. They all pointed to one thing: Tina. Tina is in prison now, but her story isn't over. And I still can't shake the feeling that she's not the only one out there, hiding behind a badge and hiding behind a mask of normalcy. There are others like her, and I'm not sure if we'll ever find them all. But one thing is certain: no one is safe. Not even your own family. What I uncovered still haunts me, and I can't help but wonder, who's next?